I teased before the break that I wanted to get into a specific element of Duke's win over the Tar Heels. And I want to start with Maliq Brown. He was my choice, by the way. I don't know whether this matters or not. He was my choice for Defensive Player of the Year in the league. Even though I think Cooper Flagg is going to win it, he probably should win it. The impact that Brown has had defensively has just been off the charts. Give me, if I was asking you for a scouting report on Brown, give it to me.
Yeah, he's he would be my Defensive Player of the Year too, I think, but he played under 400 minutes this season, which is probably why he's not going to get it. But I think Maliq Brown might be the best defensive player in the country, regardless of position.
No.
He's that special. Fastest hands in the country for a 6'8", 6'9" guy, incredibly nimble and quick laterally. It's why he's so good at switching out, and I feel like in a lot when basketball, we talk about trying to fit players into a certain archetype. And, you're looking for a certain size or, offensive profile so they can play this role on this team or whatever. But ultimately, this sport is also about just finding players that are just outlier athletes or outliers at some kind of skill, whether some trait. Mm-hmm. And Brown to me strikes me as an outlier, just a weird player because of how fast his hands are. How good his instincts. He's a very much a high field player, on both sides of the court. He can really pass in the high post. And so even while we can sing the praises for his defense, he's not a DH, he plays both sides for them. And obviously the 3-point shooting was big for Duke on Saturday, but the high post he gets in, and all of a sudden Con Knippel's, shaking loose for open threes in the first half too. His ability to help facilitate really gives Duke sort of another dimension offensively when he plays. But for him specifically, he has this incredible physical profile as a defender. With his feel, his instincts, his hands.
Yeah.
He's just as disruptive as you could possibly be on that side of the floor.
Yeah, and he's also a great passer, and you have a great passer who can play in the high post. It just gives you it adds to your offense. And Duke has a number of great passers. All right. Now, let's just get specifically to what happened Saturday night in Chapel Hill. From the point where, and it probably started before then, to be perfectly honest, I don't remember exactly what the score was when Flagg picked up his third foul on the charge in the first half. But from that point on, until North Carolina had a 7-point lead, I believe it was 56-49. What did UNC do in that stretch that turned let's just say a 14-point deficit into a 7-point lead?
They did a lot of stuff pretty well. I thought, being able, especially when Duke doesn't have Cooper out there, obviously it changes them. They're going to, route the offense through Proctor and Knippel especially. And then defensively, they're going to have to, figure it out with Mason Gillis, who's a very good, veteran forward, but isn't the same sort of defensive playmaker, obviously, that Cooper is on the backside of the defense. I thought UNC, their guards, RJ Davis especially, but Ian Jackson at times too, were able to take advantage of Kaman Malawach out on switches. And ultimately, that's why I thought Brown was such an incredible defensive playmaker for them. Throughout the game. Just real quickly on Brown, they were plus 20 in his 16 minutes on the court against UNC. In the 2 games that Duke played against UNC this season, they were plus 32 in 32 minutes with Brown on the court. They were minus 2 in 48 minutes with Brown off the floor against UNC this season. So he was a huge swing piece for them in the series. So I would say, Davis going to work against, Malawach when he got him switched out there. I thought Drake Powell, refs let him play yesterday or on Saturday, but I thought defensively he was really impactful guarding a few different players, especially, Knippel chasing him around screens and being active with his hands. So really for me, it was the shot making of Davis, which helped open things up, him attacking the switches, and it was sort of like Powell kind of like leading the charge for them defensively, and really it was just them winning those minutes with Flag off the floor and Brown off the floor as well too.
Brian Geisinger is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. Split the action on Substack. All right, now to just the Blue Devils specifically as a group. They have so many ways they can get you. They can drive. Sion James. I thought Tyrese looked like a good driver at times during the game. They've obviously, when they spread you out, they have so many guys that can shoot. If Maliq is not on the court, and you already said that, Maliq Brown hit 2 threes in the game. If Maliq is not on the court, and he has shot threes, but that ain't what they want him to do, everybody's a shooter. I just don't know. I mean, that is a very, very difficult thing for teams to deal with. Not only are they all shooters, they're all, to borrow from Roy Williams, they're all makers. I mean, they all shoot a high percentage.
Yeah.
I mean, what did Duke shoot from three? It was 47% from three against Kevin, 9 of 19. They shot 56% for the game from the floor. I mean, they look like they play the game like an NBA team. Is that a crazy thing to say?
No, definitely not. I mean, think about how they've constructed this roster. It's sort of, I wouldn't say it's like positionless 1 through 4, I think, but it's certainly positionless sort of like 1 through 3, and then Cooper's sort of his own thing. And then the way they have the center rotation split up, like you've got the rim runner with Maliq, you've got the high post, passing hub with Brown, then you've got Pat Gongba can also, make plays in the high post too, but sort of like a low post bully too. So they've just got these different dimensions they can play. They change up defensive coverages, throughout the game. They're going to be in the like on Saturday they had Maliq in the drop against Elliot Cadeau, but then against RJ Davis or Ian Jackson, it's a switch. They're doing different stuff on that side of the court, but just thinking about how they're going to dot the floor at all times with 4 shooters plus, one person that's going to be on the interior, whether it's going to be Maliq rim running, Sion James, driving to the rim, Cooper driving, Cooper posting up. I mean, they got another, Flag post up into a skip 3 to Knipple on Saturday. And just their shot profile. Like I wrote about this recently, but this is a team that really over the 3 seasons of John Shire has started to take, and this will probably be different next season. It's not going to be the same year over year, but like they have a shot profile where they're taking way fewer mid-range shots this year. Like really Flag, Knipple kind of really, but really Flag is the only one that kind of like gets to take like a fair amount of mid-range shots. Like everyone else is at the rim or it's a 3. Like Proctor has really changed his shot profile since he got to Durham. So yes, I would say that this is a program. I think they had this under Mike Krzyzewski too, but really
I don't remember him now.
Has really tweaked it sort of for like the modern NBA approach. And yes, I would say that it's something that it's not a perfect 1-to-1 fit. There's some differences obviously, but there's certainly a fair amount of overlap in terms of what this team is trying to accomplish on the offensive side of the floor.
You are smarter about basketball than basically anybody I know, but I'm curious about Brian Geisinger is joining us at @bgeis_bird on Twitter, at Brian Geisinger, or it was B Geisinger on Blue Sky. I'm sorry. Just type in Brian Geisinger on Blue Sky. You'll find him. I've been going back and forth with people who have covered the sport for a long time. To me, Cooper Flag and Grant Hill stand apart from every player who has ever played at Duke, going back in the Mike Krzyzewski era. And all the way through where we are today. I think Flag's the most complete player Duke's ever had. He's an amazing player in basically every facet of the game. Hill was different, very complete. I think Flag's a better offensive player. How do you even process that, or do you care? at this point?
Oh, I definitely care. I know like Zion was sort of in his own category of a player. We were sort of just started the conversation talking about guys who sort of break the mold with what they can do physically. He was a pretty complete player at Duke.
Right, he was.
He shot 34% on threes. He was like their best playmaker, and while he has struggled defensively in the pros, he was a game wrecker defensively at Duke. Probably developed some great habits by doing it, but was really good that way too. Yeah, Flag is. I mean, it's one of those things that's amazing because like he's far from a finished product. Like the sky is sort of the limit, and it's going to be fascinating to see how his career arc and development go. But as far as like my opinion over him, like really can't change at this point. As far as like evaluating him as a college player and a prospect, like I couldn't be, I'm as high as I could probably be on him. You know what I mean? He's been phenomenal this season. It's been a joy to cover him. And I think it does kind of matter too that, that if you're someone who sort of like cares about the both like the historical context of these things and also some of the, I guess, like intangible parts of players, I think having someone like Flag that has throughout some of these like early tests, going undefeated against UNC, beating the number one team in the country in Auburn, winning, and we'll see, I guess, how the postseason goes. But just like if you're trying to like, fast forward to 20 years into the future and you're starting to like write up the career summary of Flag, it's kind of cool to see him crossing off some of these sort of like tests and knocking out some of these accomplishments like at a pretty early stage. So, I don't know. Again, sky's the limit for him. And as far as like most complete players at Duke, like, again, I think we said the names, and he's pretty darn special. That's for sure.
All right, final thing for you, and I should have told you I was going to ask you this. So I don't know if you officially voted in the All ACC ballot, but if you did vote, because I'm sure you've at least thought about it, who would your first team? We've only got 18 teams. To come up with 5 guys is very, very difficult. But who would your first 5 on the All ACC team be?
Yeah, I do not vote, but I do think about this. I think for me, honestly, like the teams get more difficult once you get to like second, third. I think first team this season is like relatively clear cut. Like you're probably picking like 5 or to 7 guys, I would say, for it. But I would have Flag, Chucky Hepburn, Maxime Reynaud from Stanford, Con Knipple, and then I would have Chase Hunter from Clemson. But if you wanted to argue like Ian Shefflin from Clemson for the 5th spot, like he's been really, 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 really good this season. I think there's probably a few other guys we could throw in there as far as names go, but those would be the ones that I would be most likely drawing my first team from. Would be Flag, Hepburn, Hunter, Knipple, and Reynaud.
Yeah, I had Shefflin on mine.
He's awesome. He's good too. And there needs to be like a Clemson player first team kind of, but both guys have been terrific. They both should be first or second team at the lowest. In my opinion, and Shefflin's been awesome, and he really like opens up a lot for them offensively with his ability to shoot and pass and play both the 4 and the 5.
All right, I put R.J. Davis. I think I have him on the 3rd team, and that might be a career achievement award. To be perfectly honest, didn't have a great year, but I also think we're grading him based on past performance, and I think a lot of things conspired against him this year. He was more of a volume scorer for the Tar Heels than he was an efficient one this season, but in some ways he has been that in the past also. It was a tough year for him. Man, I hope I hope something happens and they can get in the tournament. I'd love to see them play in the NCAA tournament again.
Yeah, me too. Like you said, it was a tough season. Probably not what everyone had envisioned coming into the year. But I mean, all-time player.
Yeah.
Incredible career. Won a ton. One of the greatest shooters in league history, program history. Which is, think about what that means for the ACC and for UNC basketball. A Final Four, ACC regular season title, the 2022 wins over Duke that essentially ended K's career as a coach. Like, he was on the floor for a lot of these sort of like meaningful moments. And at this point, I mean, I guess he's the last holdover from Roy Williams, right?
Yeah.
Maybe there's someone else out there I'm not thinking of from the 2020-2021 UNC team that's still kicking around, but I guess Caleb Love would be one of the other
it's just
guys,
not here. He's just out in Arizona.
He's gone. And for Davis to be 5 years in one place, I mean, it's like, that's funny. We're talking about him like he's Dirk spending his entire career with the Mavs or whatever. It's a little not quite the same, but pretty remarkable, and he definitely deserves his flowers. I'm glad he was able to get an ovation, even though it came in a bit of a loss on Saturday.
Brian Geisinger, Buzzbeat Podcast, Pack Pride, 24/7 Sports, split the action on Substack. I hear great coaches all over the place are tuning in. Thank you, man. I appreciate your time as always. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah, take care.
You got it.